Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hello, hello. How are you guys doing? It is Thursday evening, May 27th, and we are back for another live stream, Thursday live stream. It's always nice to connect with you guys here on Thursday evenings. I really enjoy that. I always like when you guys comment. I always like when you guys interact, give me thoughts, give me comments, give me waves, give me hearts, give me anything, any kind of interaction really makes me happy and shows me that you're there, engaged, and yeah, here to absorb the information and perhaps maybe incorporate some of that information that I'm sharing with you guys on your own health journey. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting up my group so I see that I'm online, so that I see the comments that are coming in. I'm going to give it a few more minutes here because usually there's always a little bit of a lag when I come on live. So I'm just going to be waiting a few minutes and then we're going to go ahead and we get started to talk about, here we are. Okay, here I am. To talk about intermittent fasting. So it's a really hot topic, I find. There's a lot of women that see great results. I have posted a poll inside the group today asking how you guys have been receiving intermittent fasting, whether you have tried it yet, whether it's a new concept, whether you heard about it but haven't tried it yet, whether you've seen results or not. And there were a lot of different responses. So it's really interesting to see how everybody is really reacting so differently to that concept. And today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some pros and I'm going to give you some cons around intermittent fasting, and just to keep that in mind when you try to make that information work for yourself, within your own situation, within your own health situation. So before I do that, though, I'd like to introduce myself again because, as always, there's a few new members in here, and you probably haven't met me yet. So my name is Cordula. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis about 10 years ago, as well as polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I live in Canada. I live close to Toronto, but I'm originally from Germany. But I've been living here now for almost 18 years. So it's been a long time. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I have a holistic nutrition online practice in which I support women with autoimmune diseases to help them heal their leaky gut and regain that energy that you guys need in order to, establish that life that you deserve and desire. That's what I do. So let's talk about intermittent fasting. All right. So I put this up here. So if you want to take notes, you have it all in writing. Okay. So really the science behind intermittent fasting, we're going to go into a little bit in detail, but intermittent fasting, the concept of intermittent fasting is not a new concept. It has been around for ages. It's oftentimes an integrative part of society in many different areas in the world. Different religious religions are, practicing fasting in one way or another. However, the concept of a strategic fast for a certain time frame, time window, in a structured way of fasting is actually pretty new. And so this is what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So I'm not going to be talking about any kind of like, prolonged fasts that people do for various reasons. I'm going to be talking about the really the structured, timed fasting in between meals on a daily basis. So we're talking about time restricted fasting. So we're talking about anywhere between 12 and 16 hours of intermittent fasting. And so the reason for this to be very popular these days is the thought that it's always connected with cleansing the system. And there's a really good reason as to why, which I'm going to be explaining in a minute. I know that some people choose intermittent fasting because they choose it around weight loss. And though intermittent fasting can help with weight loss, it's certainly not the main driver of trying intermittent fasting or trying to achieve a practice of intermittent fasting. The main driver is really um, it's the key mechanism behind it is metabolic switching. Metabolic switching and fasting triggers the body to switch its resources, its source of energy from glucose to ketones, which are stored in fat. I mean, this will lead to weight loss, but it also supports your metabolic rate, your metabolism in your body. So this is really the main driver, the main health benefit as to why we actually consider intermittent fasting to begin with. So I just want to make that clear that I'm not a big fan of weight loss practices in terms of, doing certain regimens for weight loss in mind, but rather for the health benefit of it. So the science behind intermittent fasting. There is, it has been shown in a lot of studies that intermittent fasting is actually helping your metabolism. It's actually helping your rate of inflammation to come down. It's actually helping your triglycerides to come down. And it helps to bring down ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. So I'm going to be talking about these a little bit more in depth and detail here. And if you like, you can take some notes. Let me just review my notes so I don't forget anything. So the first thing really, and the first thing that I like about intermittent fasting is the positive effect it has on insulin sensitivity. So insulin sensitivity. So, us with chronic inflammation, I see it often that there is a certain level of insulin sensitivity happening because we have a lot of blood sugar issues, oftentimes, which means our body is flooded with sugar at certain periods of the day. And our bodies, have too much sugar in their blood through diet, through other processes, is that our cells are actually starting to respond in that they become insensitive to insulin. So when you have so much sugar in your blood because you just had, let's say, you ate a donut or something like that, there's a whole lot of sugar coming into your system that your body needs to put away in order to keep the balance, and it does that with insulin. And so insulin is something that is then released by a pancreas, and the insulin is like a little carrier that latches onto the sugar, and then it brings it into the cells, or it takes it to the cells, and then the cells, it docks on, and the cells opens up and lets the sugar in. So at one point your body might say, it's too much. The cell says, I have enough energy in here already. I don't need you anymore. So insulin knocks on the door of the cell and tries to get in, but the cell says no and keeps the door shut. And so then the cell becomes insulin sensitive. Sorry, the insensitivity goes up, and so then the cell doesn't respond as well to the insulin anymore. So the good thing with intermittent fasting is that it reduces insulin sensitivity. Um, it does it because it brings it it stabilizes your blood sugar level throughout the night. So when you stop eating at, let's say, 6 p.m. in the evening, and you start eating again the next morning at around 8 a.m., you have a good 12 to 13, 14 hours of resting period in your body in which there's no food coming in, there's no sugars coming in. and yourself thereby get a really good break. And so that can help to stabilize the insulin levels for sure. Another benefit of intermittent fasting is um, di- digestive upsets. Really, it kind of like stabilizes digestive upsets, such as, for example, bloating, feeling of fullness, all the GI symptoms that you're experiencing sometimes in the evenings is oftentimes related to constipation. And constipation is sometimes related to, not giving your digestive system enough rest in between meals. If you are snacking throughout the day without giving your digestive system, a good 3 to 4 hours in between in order to digest the food that has come in, and you continue to eat and you continue to move more food down the digestive tract, it always has to work. It always has to use that energy in order to digest the food. And so that can make your digestive system a little sluggish and can cause constipation as well as bloating and such. And so if you eat all the way into the night where your digestive system is starting to go down, and the digestive fire, it's the way I call it, is starting to go low in the evenings, then that could cause a lot of food that is just simply being stuck in your digestive tract and not being fully digested anymore. And so thereby you can cause your body to produce gas and all of that. So it can really help to lower GI upsets. I'm gonna just put that down. So GI upsets, such as bloating, constipation, feeling of fullness, and all of that. Another really good pro for intermittent fasting is actually it can normalize your ghrelin levels. So that would be, where's the H? I always get that wrong. Okay, there it is. Ghrelin levels. So I don't know whether you heard about ghrelin, but ghrelin is a hormone, and it's also called the hunger hormone. It's the hormone that signals your body that you are hungry at starting various amounts of different metabolic processes and in your body, and to start making you feel hungry and your body to crave food and to fuel again. So sometimes when we are constantly eating, we're actually messing with the ghrelin levels with the hormone. Similarly to the GI upsets that I was talking about, is if we are constantly eating, if we're constantly having food that's coming down our system, those ghrelin levels are always being stimulated. And at one point, we might not be getting the full feeling of saturation anymore, because the ghrelin levels, the hormone levels, are starting to become out of balance for us. And so we are not really experiencing, the feeling of real hunger anymore, where you get the growling stomach, or you feel, oh my goodness, it's a good feeling of I'm starving. I I need to nourish myself now. And then when you eat, it's really nourishing you. You feel it's really satisfying your system. And so that's a positive. But so when the ghrelin levels get out of balance, then you don't have that anymore, and you never feel full, and you just continuously continue to eat because you are never truly, satisfied with the meals that you have. You feel that you need more and more and more. So when you start intermittent fasting, it can actually help you reset those ghrelin levels because you give your body that really long period of time where it cleanses and where it does nothing, and where no food comes down the tract and no ghrelin levels are being triggered by various pathways in your body. So it can actually help reset your ghrelin levels. In the beginning, it might be a little tricky because you might feel hungry. And if you feel hungry, then it's probably a good thing to eat. But the more you practice intermittent fasting, the less you will find your body is becoming or getting to such a state where you just feel starved. You feel that you can go longer and you feel more energized. Um, that is not for everybody, but for a lot of people, that is a fact. And then eventually you won't feel hungry just because it's your usual meal time. So that is a good thing. Um, and then the last one that I was going to mention is the fasting can also lower triglyceride levels. So it can lower triglyceride levels. So when you consume too much of what I say, quote unquote, bad cholesterol, so cholesterol is something that your body makes on its own, and really your body makes enough cholesterol for all the body functions that it needs. And the more cholesterol we consume, especially in processed foods, especially you know, in foods that are not whole foods, can be detrimental because you're bringing your body into an imbalance of good and bad cholesterol. So your triglyceride levels may shoot up if you are eating additional cholesterol high foods, which adds to the cholesterol that your body already makes, which can, we all know it can increase inflammation in your body. That's what it does. It increases inflammation in your body. So when you do intermittent fasting, it can actually lower those cholesterol levels for you, and then it can decrease the triglycerides in the process. Um, there's another interesting fact is that um, the levels of good cholesterol that your body makes are not being affected by it. So that's really great. So when you do the intermittent fasting, it'll bring down the bad cholesterol and it'll keep the good cholesterol untouched. So that's amazing. And the reason behind that is that it brings down the cholesterol is really its cleansing purposes. What you're doing is you're decreasing the inflammation in the system because of all of these really it's a combined effect. It's the sugar balance that's coming in, the GI upsets, moving food waste through your system, um, having your energy focused on um, other tasks that are needed in the body, such as detoxification, rather than digestion, right? So, because digestion is a really big energy sucker for your body. So, digestion in itself um, takes a lot of energy and which can take away from other body functions. So while we are doing the intermittent fasting, we don't have to, you know, use that energy for digestive purposes within our body, but rather this energy can be used for detoxification, right? So your liver might be using that energy to detoxify toxins, or your kidneys, or your lymphatics, anything like that can be using that energy. So that is why we see inflammation is starting to come down during intermittent fasting a lot, which brings down the triglyceride levels as well. So now, of course, those are all great points, and I think you guys see that it can be super beneficial. However, it is, it doesn't work for everybody. And I say that over and over again because everybody is so different and everybody has a different life and everybody has a different health history and everybody's body is reacting to certain strategies and protocols in different ways. So I would never flat out say intermittent fasting is the world's best thing you can do for your body because I see that it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And I'll give you some ideas here as to why that is. So, for example, cons. So I would never recommend intermittent fasting for anybody who has blood sugar issues or is diabetic or is on a blood sugar or has blood sugar dysregulation. So why is that? That is because of this. Because the intermittent fasting, what it does by its nature is it brings down your insulin levels. And if that happens too drastically, then people who are diabetic or people who have severe blood sugar dysregulations can actually fall into some sort of coma, or they can really struggle with symptoms. And so it's never a good idea if you are experiencing any sort of ups and downs in your blood sugar throughout the day. If you find that you're starting to get dizzy throughout the day when you don't eat, or if you have your mid-afternoon dips where your energy is, like sinks so much that you need to eat something in order to bring it back up. If you experience any of that, then I would definitely not suggest intermittent fasting. Then it's really important to get that blood sugar stabilized first and foremost, because otherwise it can have a negative effect on your body. Another one that I was also going to mention is if you're on medication for blood pressure or if you have any sort of blood pressure issues, I would also not recommend intermittent fasting. Because same thing, it can have detrimental effect on your body. And it can, so usually people with blood pressure issues also are more prone to electrolyte abnormalities. And the intermittent fasting can really just bring those abnormalities to a totally different level, because in intermittent fasting there's a lot of loss of electrolytes because your colon is working. It was starting to work a lot more in pushing the food through that, and the waste is starting to be churned and turned more. And while it's doing that, electrolytes are being absorbed back into your bloodstream, and so this can really offset your blood pressure. So I would never recommend that as well. And that also ties into a lot of people who are actually experiencing adrenal issues. So, adrenal fatigue, let's say. If you are somebody who is experiencing adrenal fatigue, so if you have any kind of symptoms like if you are experiencing high stress in your life, if you have high cortisol levels, if you're, hormone levels are completely out of whack, I would definitely not recommend intermittent fasting. It can really increase the levels of your cortisol. And that is because, and if you're not used to it, it can be a really big stressor on your system to go without food for a prolonged period of time. And, your body can actually react to it, sees it as a trigger, and then start cortisol production even more, which can really have a negative effect on your sleep. In the evening, it can have a negative effect on your mind, on your on your mindset and your stress levels per se, and then also cortisol is can then increase inflammatory processes in your body if it's chronic. So, and if you continue to do the intermittent fasting and you're exposing yourself to chronic stress with that regard, you can actually increase the inflammation in your body even more so. Yes, so those are some of the pros and some of the cons of the intermittent fasting. I hope that was interesting to you. I hope you guys found some interesting facts in here and learned a little bit more about it. And maybe for those of you who are have been thinking about doing intermittent fasting, maybe take that into consideration and how it can help you on your journey, how it can play out for you on in your body personally. And like I said, keep in mind that everybody is so different, and you have to kind of like intuitively decide whether this is something that you might want to try that might be benefiting you. And if you have any questions around how to do that, how you can, determine whether this might be something that might be helpful for you, reach out, let me know. We can certainly have a chat about that as well. Yeah, so I hope this was interesting and helpful for you guys. And thanks so much for watching. And we'll see you again next Thursday to the next Thursday Live. And if there's any topic that you ever want me to cover or touch on, I'm always happy to receive requests because this is really for you guys. I want this to be super helpful. So any topic requests are welcome. All right, everybody, have a wonderful evening, and I will see you very soon.